XXXXK Body Questions is back with another video of it tonight. So today we're going to be shooting season 2, episode 2. We'll be spending the day with Mr.
Barry Munger. Man, I'm passionate about bodybuilding. My name is Barry, and what can I say? This is something that I do for love. So let's just check what goes on today, and I hope you enjoy it.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
So, I'm a bodybuilder, that's my hobby. What I actually do for a living, I work for BMW. Overall, I just have a severe passion for life. I like working hard because I work a long job and I still can't stop myself from training every day. So I enjoy sharing my passion with people. I think that's what I'm all about. If I can surmise who I am, mostly I would say that yes, first and foremost, I am a bodybuilder, but I'm your regular guy, just trying to get by in life and enjoying himself. That's who I am. So that's my intro on myself. I can't describe myself in any other way except that I'm just like anyone else, just have a bit more passion and determination that I've learned from my sport. And other than that, I think it's quite simple. I'm competing bodybuilding. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I would say that I do this out of passion. There's no other reason for it. It's a very difficult thing to do. I also work a full-time job, and I actually just want people to know that it's possible to do the sport and live a normal life. So I think the whole thing about this is that we need to explain and sort of identify things that are important in life, you know, and to me, this is a passion. So if you have a passion for guitar, pursue it. I've held it all in word, God knows I've tried, and it's an awful awakening, a country boy's life, to look in the mirror total surprise at the hair on my shoulders and the age in my eyes. Amanda, light of my life, fate should have made you a gentleman's wife. Amanda, light of my life, fate should have made you a gentleman's wife. Alright, so we can start on this meal. In the mornings, I start off with 6 blocks of wheat bix, a bit of fruit, and 6 boiled eggs. So that's to get in enough protein to replenish my glycogen. And we add the fruit to this meal because it's interesting, it tastes good, and then of course you have your scoop of whey. So adding that all together, then I add water to this, and of course it mixes well together because I don't use milk, I just use water. Okay.
Why use water?
I use water because the milk has a lot of extra calories in it and fats. And the thing is, I don't want to measure out that as well, and my volume of foods will be less. So I prefer to just mix it with water. Plus the way mixing with water actually tastes quite nice. Okay. This is my basically cream of rice. This is what I have usually before training. So on average we do 100 grams plus of this. And then also we add whey to this. So we'll usually add a scoop of whey. That also adds flavor because cream of rice has no flavor if you don't add any protein to it. You usually just add a pinch of salt as well, so that makes it palatable, means you can actually eat the stuff. It doesn't taste terrible. So a lot of people complain that cream of rice is horrible. It's just because they don't know how to prepare it and what to put in it, that's all. Same as if you make mealie pap and you don't add anything to it, it tastes terrible. Same thing. Okay, then this will be like my 10 o'clock meal. This meal is comprised of basically 370 grams of rice, 80 grams of veg, and then obviously I'm having about 150 grams of chicken. The same meal is repeated at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on how my day is going. So this is my evening meal. Usually I eat red meat. The reason is there's a bit more saturated fats in the food, and I just personally enjoy it. So to me, it's just something comfortable to eat. I can't eat chicken all day because I need some variety. So obviously this all fits in with the macros. We basically make sure that this is lean mint, so there's not too much fat, and that's how we work it out. So this we will obviously eat with pasta in the evening. So okay, also just variety. So I want to eat pasta due to the fact that I get tired of rice, I get tired of potatoes. So you need variety in your diet, otherwise you won't be able to stick to it. So any normal person gets bored. I mean, if you keep eating the same thing over and over, you're going to get bored. You just can't do that the whole time. So it's good to add the variety. Otherwise, you're not going to stay sane. It's going to drive you crazy eating the same thing over and over. And then also, I'm not afraid to add a little bit of spices. There's no sugar in the spices. It's always natural, like mixed herbs, things like that. So just to make it taste good. There's a myth that you can't spice your food when you're prepping as a bodybuilder, but that's nonsense. You need it to make it interesting. So I just make sure there's one rule, that there isn't any sugar in it. So a lot of spices, normal spices like aromat, whatever it may be, actually has a lot of sugar in it. So it's sort of things that are just natural, like this for instance. It's basically just a mix of coriander and things like that. Nothing added that is out of the ordinary. Then we move on here. This is the evening meal. So my evening meal, like I said, is pasta combined with mince. So it's 250 grams of protein there. Well, let's just say mince. 250 grams of mince along with the pasta. So usually I would also eat it's 500 grams plus of pasta or 550 grams of potato for that meal. And obviously veg as well, about 80 grams. So this will be my off season. If I had to skip one of these meals, I'll literally lose 2 kilograms a week, because then I go into a deficit. So for my size, that's why it's so difficult to be a big guy. You need to eat so much food, and it's often uncomfortable. But if you want to be the best, or try to be the best, you got to do this. There's no other way.
So our strategy is also in the off season to keep Barry's fat intake a little bit lower. So he does have fat in his diet. Fat is important for hormone production and for the cell structures and a lot of things in your body. But what we don't want is a high fat diet. So if you were eating KFC and all that kind of stuff, you would be gaining weight, but it would be bad weight. It wouldn't be the right. You want the lots of carbohydrates and stuff to support your muscle growth, and that's why lots of rice. When he's in season, when he's dieting down, then we replace it with potatoes, because potatoes keep you a bit fuller. It's for satiation. And when you're in the off season, you're trying to build muscle, then replace it with stuff that's a lot easier to eat, like spaghetti, because it's so much food. You're not hungry anymore, and that's why it's like white rice and stuff that's a lot easier to eat. We don't have any issues with fruit. You have like 2 or 3 fruits a day in the off season. And when you go into the in season, then it becomes important to make sure that you have as little extra, so that you really have less and less energy, so that you have to start using your body fat, and then you get really lean. You'll see like every single muscle in his body. So then he will probably replace his eggs with egg whites, take some of the yolks out. We'll probably take the mix and change it to oats that's keeps you a bit fuller and reduce the amount. And that's how we would change the diet when we go into.
So essentially when I start dieting, then I go into slight starvation, which means we cut this by the calories usually by about 10% at a time, or slightly less. That means that I go below my maintenance. And as soon as you go below your maintenance and you hold steady there, you're going to start losing body fat. So as you diet, getting closer to a show, you obviously get slightly weaker. It's a natural thing that's going to happen. The last 2 to 3 weeks before you compete, you don't feel too well, because the body doesn't want to be at 5% or 4% body fat. It's actually an unnatural state. Your body wants to preserve itself. It wants to be around 10% plus body fat, just for self-preservation. So that's why bodybuilding is also hard, because it's uncomfortable. So if you can't fight through the hunger, you're constantly hungry, then you won't be a good bodybuilder. And unfortunately, if you can't resist your cravings, let's just say you cheat. You decide you're going to buy 5 ice creams and you eat those ice creams. What that does is it pushes up your calories, your glycogen stores overload, and then it takes about 2 to 3 days for that to recede. You're essentially putting yourself back. Your prep becomes more difficult if you cheat. So that's why I always stay disciplined, because I know the plan. We know that we're just dropping at a certain rate, trying to get my body to look a certain way. But all it matters is how you look on stage for those 10 minutes. So all of this, just for 10 minutes on stage, but it's worth it. You just want to look right. And I mean, the body, like I said, resists dieting. You are going to be hungry. So you need a strong mind. If you don't have a strong mind, it's not for you. So that's why you'll see most people complain about just being on a normal diet. They complain that they're hungry, they give in within 1 or 2 days. Often what they do is they drop their food down too much instead of just gradually reducing it. So like what we do, 5 or 10%, then it's much easier to diet. Your body slowly gets used to the calories dropping, so then it's more sustainable.
If you have a nice varied diet like this, there's lots of vegetables in there, different type of vegetables, we rotate the vegetables, then it's not that necessary to have hands full of pills and vitamins and stuff, because a lot of it is covered. We do add some stuff like your omega-3s and vitamin D and stuff that you can't really get through your diet very easily. But other than that, we try to have all the vitamin C through a bit of fruit and some of our supplements and stuff, but we don't want to have hands full of pills. When you get closer to a show, you might need to, because you reduce your calories so much that you can't have an apple and this and whatever, then you might need to. But luckily for a really big person like this, it's not too difficult to still have lots of pineapple and berries and all sorts of stuff to still have all the vitamins in there, because just this sort of is what maintains his body. You know, like it's not even a lot to make him grow. So even when he diets down, he still eats quite a lot of food. You'll probably remove one of these plates of food, and that is already going to make him start to like really get shredded. So that's just the bonus of really being a big guy.
I started competing when I was 23 years old, actually 22. My stage weight was about 77. Gradually it's come up from there. Now I compete at about 110, around that region. What is the goal of the whole thing in bodybuilding? It's not to weigh as much as possible, it's just to be as symmetrical as possible. So I started competing, and you see your flaws and your weak points. My first 17 shows, I was actually in the process of building my physique. There was always a problem, like my hamstrings weren't good enough, or my back wasn't good enough, or my chest wasn't good enough. And now, finally, at my age 32, I can say I have a very complete physique. It always needs improving, but I would say that I've reached a level where I'm happy. Yeah, so I continued competing through all the years, through varsity, in my 20s. And when I was in 2017, I had my first success. I won an overall. It was a Bloem Classic. It was a nice, huge show. There were a couple thousand people watching. It was an open venue. And after winning that overall, I was hooked. I was like, man, now I'm going to work hard. Thereafter, I've taken a lot of overalls. I can't even remember how many. But it's due to hard work. It was 10 years plus hard work. I didn't just get the talent. I was given talent in terms of my physique, but I had to work for it. And I must say, it's very satisfying when you end up at the top. And every single one of those athletes has given everything. So that's a very gratifying feeling. It's almost as though you believe in yourself even more after each show, because you have achieved something. You're the best of some of the hardest working people that there are. So it's full dedication, nutrition, training, everything. So to be a good bodybuilder is essentially a full-time job / lifestyle. And if you can't treat it that way, you won't really reach the top. Yeah, so continue competing, and then I would say that the biggest thing that drove me in the beginning was my father. Also passed in 2017, but he loved it. He loved watching me, and I always remember him. Before I go out on stage, or if I win, I remember my father, because, ultimately, he loved watching his son do this. The smile I saw on his face in 2017, when I won that overall, I can't explain it. It was amazing, because he knows the hard work that I put into it. How do I stay motivated? You know what? It's been difficult. I have my difficult stages where I don't feel that positive about what I do. But I just continue to train, refocus my mind, then I eventually gather my thoughts towards my goal again. After every show I go through a bit of a phase where I think, was it worth it? Then I sort of realize at the end it was worth it. Staying motivated actually, you know what? There's always a day or two every week where I don't feel like training, but I do it anyways. Just because it's a thing of habit and a lifestyle. So motivation, if that was the only thing, if I was only driven by motivation, I would only train twice a week. The rest is discipline. That's what it's really about. We're not always going to be motivated and feeling like doing something. Like really. It's like if you decide to study auditing, you're excited about it as a young person. You're like, it's going to be great. But when you're physically doing the job, it's boring, it's horrible. But you realize, I've got to do this, I'm going to make a lot of money from the career. And that's how you stay motivated, through the discipline and something. I think that answers that question. So my plan is this. I obviously want to turn professional. I want to compete at the highest level that I can. I want to represent this country You know, to be a bodybuilder that actually went to the highest level, I want to try and do that. I know I have the talent, I can do it. After I've achieved that, I'll scale down from bodybuilding. I'll always train, I'll always I'll eat healthy, you know what I mean? But I obviously won't be this size. I'll be happy at 90 kilograms or at 100 kilograms or whatever it may be. So that's what I'll do. I'll scale it down, be more family oriented, those sort of things. I would say this. It's horrible. Those first 3 months, man, your body aches, you feel extra tired because you need to adjust to what's happening. So remember, your body goes into shock because often when you start training, you push yourself too hard. So what that means is you get an immune response where you feel weaker. Your immune system takes a hammering. Mentally, you're tired. Also, you feel like, oh, you're not progressing or whatever it may be. But you know what you must do? If your body is aching at the end of that week, you take 2 days off, you rest. Then you go back with a positive focus. You make sure that you keep in a routine. So you don't need to train every day. You don't give it all up all at once. You gradually get into it. That way your body adapts. The soreness, you know what, soreness is always there. When you train effectively on a muscle group, even as I sit here, my chest is hurting. It really hurts because what we've done in terms of training, that's the purpose of hypertrophy training. You breaking the muscle essentially develops micro tears from training. That's what happens. That repairs and grows the muscle bigger. It's actually, this is a whole lot of scar tissue. Muscles that are huge, it's just actually scar tissue that's building upon itself. So remember, training is always going to be painful. It's not less painful for me than it is for you. Believe me, some days I can't walk up the stairs. I'm like, damn, I pushed myself too hard. You get used to that pain. Or there's times where you'll be sitting there and you're like, oh, my back hurts, this feels terrible. That's part of the process. But just remember, if you feel tired, it's your first week, it's okay, rest 2 days. Just know that you must take yourself back to the gym the next week. Make sure that you return. Make sure that while you're hurting so much, you eat better so that you recover. Other than that, just remember to ask yourself, how short is your life? What do you want to achieve? Like, are you going to just sit back and make excuses forever? Or do you want to be exceptional? People that stand out have discipline. Like I said, that motivation, it comes and goes. Discipline is the word.
Mama told me when I was young, said sit beside me, my only son, listen closely to what I say, and if you do this, it'll help you some sunny day. And be a simple kind of man, or be something you love and understand. Baby, be a simple kind of man. Oh, won't you do this for me, son, if you can?
Whoa! You also need routine to be happy. So get some routine in place, have some passion, realize where you stand, you're happy and healthy that day, and just have your goals in place. I would say that's the best message that I can give. I'm not perfect. I have my bad days, but I overall just try to follow that perspective, that I'm trying to do the best I can each day. I think that is who I am as a person, and I hope that everyone else can really just sticking to what I do every day. Not that it's important or that it's different from anyone else, I just do it. And that someone can actually be motivated and inspired. It'll make me very happy.